Target's first quarter earnings out this morning didn't just hit the mark, they blew right by it. Earnings clobbered analyst forecast by nearly 70% as comparable sales surged 22.9%. Target credited strength online and in stores in categories such as apparel, home goods, and beauty products. Execs also struck an upbeat outlook for sales and margins for the balance of the year. Let's welcome in Target's CFO Michael Fiddelke for more. Michael, good to see you this morning here. This is another big quarter out of Target. Now, you interact closely with the financial community. What are they not understanding about Target right now that you can see these sizable beats in sales and profit margins? Is it the impact of inflation? Is it the impact of consumer spending stimulus checks? What are they missing?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Brian. And I'll start off just with a huge thank you to the Target team that's responsible for this incredible quarter. And if I had to kind of tease out a theme for the quarter, it would be growth on growth. We really saw guests continue to turn to Target, and we saw it in the strength of our top line with 23% growth on top of double-digit growth last year. And if I had to point out a couple of factors that are probably most important, the first is the strength of our multi-category model. We have such credibility across so many parts of the business. There's so many ways to drive a trip to Target for our guests. And we certainly saw that in the first quarter. A category that was soft last year, like apparel, was up 60% for us in the first quarter. And some trips came along with that. And the second thing I'd call out is the power of our stores and our power of our store teams. Stores fulfilled 95% plus of the sales that we saw in the first quarter. And our stores grew 18% versus last year. And so we continue to believe that a differentiated store experience and stores as the center of our fulfillment is a real advantage. And that gives us confidence as we look to the back part of the year.
Michael, what, 9 million people in the country are still without a job. Are you surprised by how much consumers are out there spending right now?
We see a consumer with increasing confidence and the impact of vaccine rollout and a strengthening economy, and the just general growth we see in consumers continuing to put their trust in Target and increasingly turning to Target's stores. And so it's great to see the consumer finding some spring in their step and coming back to Target stores and turning to categories like apparel that have really come on for us this year. And so we feel really good about the strength we're seeing in the consumer and how they're shopping our entire assortment. We saw growth in all 5 of our key categories.
Getting some questions about the guidance for the next couple quarters. You're looking for a slower comparable sales growth compared to what you saw in the first quarter. Why is that?
As we look to the back part of the year, we're excited about the growth that we expect to put on top of some of the strongest quarters in Target's history. And so we feel really good about how the guest continues to turn to Target. And one of the things that we expect to be a guest behavior that's sticky and will help provide that growth in the back part of the year is we make it so easy for the guests to shop with Target on their terms however they want. And the growth of our same-day services of order pickup, drive up, and ship have been a big part of our growth over the last couple of years. And I can tell you I see evidence of that even in our own household. We've got a Shipt shopper that stocks up our pantry once a week. We've become habitual users of Drive Up for that thing we forgot and need to pick up on the way to or from a kid's soccer practice. And we love spending time in the stores. I think my daughter probably spent 2 hours in the aisles of Target browsing the new dress collection just this last weekend. And so there's so many ways for the guests to find an easy way to shop our assortment. And we think that'll propel growth going forward.
You have acknowledged that Target and like many other retailers are seeing pockets of inflation. Where are you seeing some of the largest amounts of inflation?
Yeah, we're watching it closely, as you might expect, and we see some pockets of increase. But one of the things that gives me a lot of comfort is we've got teams that have tons of experience over decades managing the costs of our business, and our merchandising and supply chain teams have a lot of experience managing changes to the input of cost side to our business. And when it comes to inflation, I think there's 2 things that I lead you with that were most important. The first is we feel really good about our price positioning. We want to make sure that guests can find great value anytime they come to Target. That's been central to some of our success over the last few years, and that philosophy won't change. And then the second is, given the diversity of the categories in which we sell and the sophistication of our supply chain, we've got a lot of levers to offset any headwinds should they pop up from an inflation perspective.
Can you grow profits at the same time inflation is spiking?
Now, we believe we've got a model that's proved its durability over time. And so it all starts for us with growth. When we have a healthy top line, when guests continue to turn to Target more and more, we can make the rest of the P&L work out with all the levers that we have to pull. So I'm really confident that we'll be able to translate continued growth and market share gain over time into growing profits.
Now, I've covered Target for some time, Michael, and you've worked there for some time. And I think we could both agree we've never seen sales and profits grow at this rate. Do you think from where you sit, the U.S. economy is starting to overheat?
I feel really good about what we're seeing, and it's been great to see our business perform well over the last year. And there's inevitably questions about what's that look like when you start to anniversary some of the strongest performance in Target's history last year. And so, as we look ahead, we see increasing consumer confidence, and that's a good thing for the economy in total, and it's certainly a good thing for Target's business, given how the guest continues to turn to Target.
Target joining a lot of other retailers this week, Michael, saying you can walk into the stores without a mask. How are employees supposed to handle that?
Well, we've put the health and safety of our team front and center in so much of our decision making for years, and especially over the last year. And so, we turn to the CDC for the best guidance on how to make sure our team and guests are safe. And with the change in CDC guidance, we've updated our mask policy accordingly. And we feel like if we're consistent and clear with our policy, then we expect to create a safe shopping environment. And some of the investments we've made in clean and safe shopping environment and social distancing within our stores, we'll continue to keep those in place as well.
What about the shields at the registers? Are they coming down?
We'll continue to look at that over the balance of the year, but right now we don't have any plans to change.
And in terms of employees, we've looked at a lot of retailers right now. They're raising wages. Target out in front about a year ago, raising wages before a lot of other retailers. Are you going to have to raise wages even more this year just to keep the workers you have and attract new ones for this holiday season?
Well, as you know, Brian, we've put our team front and center on where we invest over time. And I think that positions us really well in the current environment. I mean, from where I sit as CFO, there is no investment that's more important or that has a higher return than the investments that we've made in our team. And so, to your point, we were out years ago with a commitment to get to a $15 starting wage, which we reached last year. And we'll continue to put investment in the team and support of the team front and center as we think about decisions going forward.
Before I let you go, Michael, a lot of focus today on the moves in the cryptocurrency markets. As the CFO of a company like Target, is that a discussion you're having inside the C-suite? Do you want to accept Bitcoin as a payment in Target, or is it just too big a risk to put that on the balance sheet?
Well, I'll tell you, Brian, every decision we make goes back to what do we hear from our guests? And that's been at the center of so much of our decision making over the last several years. So, we'll continue to monitor changes in guest trends and adjust our business accordingly. But right now, we're focused on meeting the needs of the guests as they transition out of the pandemic. And the flexibility of our model with so many ways to meet those guest needs is what's giving us a ton of confidence over the course of the balance of the year. And continuing to stay focused on the guests will be the thing that powers our growth for years to come.
For what it's worth, I have no intentions of using a cryptocurrency at a Target, but maybe I'm just a boomer for using cash. Who knows, Michael?
Well, thanks for having me today, Brian.
All right, Michael Fiddelke, Target CFO. Good to see you.